Hey guys, good morning.
Hey everyone,
Welcome to the Rogue Scholars. I'm the Wombat of Doom.
I'm Mega Kirby, but I don't stream.
Charlie Spears.
It's got to be something he has to plug every time is his
Yeah,
lack of streaming.
it's
It's
great.
he's the top tier streamer because he advertises about how he doesn't stream.
Yeah, I'm pretty good. It's exclusive. Okay, okay.
Welcome everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. I know I am,
Oh yeah, I'm doing
and
well.
awesome.
A bit tired. A bit tired, but I'm gonna wake up. It's gonna be good.
So today we're going to be talking about um, a little old thing called level design. It's best, it's worst. How does it uh, interact with the game, and does it make it better? Does it make it worse? So um, a lot that level design can be and can't be, right? Like what are
Yeah.
different things that go into level design?
So I was gonna say, I think there's at least two, maybe three ways we could think about this. So one thing we'll call level design, and another thing maybe could be called, I don't know, map design or something. So for example, let's stick with Dark Souls 1 because we've all played it. Level design could be something on a smaller scale, like the design of Honor Orlando or Blight Town or something like that. Whereas map design would be how all the levels connect with each other. Because I think some games have great level design, but terrible map design, where the individual levels are nice, but how they connect is either doesn't make sense or it's boring, too linear, whatever. So those are the two main ways I think
Yeah,
that we should talk about. You could also talk about some third way of how it feels atmospherically, like if the world feels nice, but if we're just sticking to strictly design, I think that we need to talk about level design and map design, and either if they're both good, if they complement each other, and how they don't so much. If you guys agree with that, I suppose.
That's, I guess, one key in on one thing. Like when you talk, or do we want to separate the level design?
Wait, sorry.
I
Say it
think
one
it's,
more
I think
time.
it's, I said, I think that's it's important to set ground rules. So I agree.
Yeah,
But
right.
do we want to set aesthetics different from level design?
Yeah. So like,
yes,
do we take? Okay.
absolutely.
So just talking about the design for now. Gotcha. Yep.
And we can talk about aesthetics and how that factors in at one point, but like
Yeah. To
the
start with,
biggest thing
the
is
design,
design, not appearance.
of course. Okay. Well, then going back to your original question of does it make or break a game, I would say in most cases, yes. It depends on the genre. Obviously, there are some games where it doesn't apply. For example, like Tetris. There's no such thing as level. I mean, really, there's no such thing as level design. And but I would say in most games, whether it's a
I
first-person
disagree.
shooter, you do that
hmm
Tetris has level design.
hmm Yeah, but go on.
Okay, we'll come back to that point. I would say in most games, I'm interested in what you say about that. In most games, I think it doesn't matter, such as first-person shooters, definitely RPGs. I think, and then horror games, pretty much any other genre, level design is gonna be a pretty big component. I think it weighs more so on single-player games than multiplayer games. Not to say I don't think it's important, but I think that people care more and people notice it more in single-player games, especially ones that are more adventure-oriented as opposed to just action-oriented.
I also disagree.
Okay, I'm excited.
Charles, what about you?
Agree with what Kirby saying. I think it can make or break a game. Some of the best games that have been created are, if you're the ones that we're going to pick on to go to, is like our examples. So obviously I think it in Notion it plays an important factor. And no, I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, for
Okay.
an intro.
And just letting you know, a little bit of lag on your side of the camera, Charles. Just a little bit.
Oh,
Your mic's for the most part fine, but
Yeah.
uh, your camera isn't as much.
let
All
me
right,
look.
so I guess I'll start with my first disagreement, Kirby.
Yeah, with Tetris.
Yeah, so Tetris had to have some sort of level design because if it was like a plus sign
Mhm.
stage, it would be a lot harder to place the
Okay.
blocks. It would if it was a circle stage, it wouldn't work at all. It would break the game, things like that. So
That's
like
fair. That's
the
fair.
way they designed it was to be the most efficient and the uh, most the element that made the most sense for the game. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, that makes sense. Obviously, you can't really. That's fair.
I
Ooh,
mean,
other shapes
in that
there.
probably was like 2 seconds of thought to make that choice of level design, but it's still a
But
design.
it has its okay, fair enough. And then I don't know what part of my second statement you disagree with. Maybe it was the single player multiplayer thing, or
It
maybe it was the
was.
design.
It was a
Okay.
single player multiplayer, and we can get to that later.
Okay, fair enough. So then, what are your overall thoughts on level design and whatnot?
I think
If you
level
can cover
design
that.
is extremely important, being that I'm an artist and also a designer at times.
Mhm.
I know that level design can still be good, but not be good for the game. Um, I also, just speaking from experience, like designing a level that takes forever, even if it's good, you can only have so much of a level before it starts working against you. You have to have the right balance of everything, and
Yep.
sometimes that can be tough. And sometimes people hit that, and sometimes people miss that, and sometimes it doesn't really matter. You don't notice. Like some games just they don't have chapters. They just continue going until you're done.
Yeah.
They're generally shorter games, but that's that's a thing too. So I do think that level design can make or break a game. However, sometimes it might not matter as much either. So it might not affect the game as much.
Yep. Okay, I agree with all that pretty much. No, I do, not pretty much.
Oh, good.
I guess, do we want to give examples of games or talk about maybe not like I guess yeah, what we think is good and or bad level design, or where do we want to go from here first? What makes the most sense?
Well, Trell had some games in mind, I know.
Oh
I,
yeah,
I
okay.
don't. So
I have a couple, but Trell, if you want to start, if you have a
I mean,
first few.
let's just get the obvious one out of the way since we're always boasting about it. Let's just talk about Dark
I've
Souls
never played that
level
game.
design.
I
what's
don't know
what's
that.
Dark Souls? Is
What is
is
Souls
that
of
is
Dark?
that
So
something like
that game,
What is
uh
that?
uh the Darkness? Is it like that
Yeah,
game?
I think that's the Darkness. I think it's the spin-off game.
is the Darkness from Alan Wake. That's exactly what
Yeah.
it is, actually. It
No,
just spawned off into its own video.
the
It's so
Darkness is
good.
actually a game, by the way.
Yep.
Oh, and
Yo, I actually really like it.
Is it Darksiders? Are you talking about
Darksiders is the
Darksiders?
game.
Fighters.
Oh, I
It's a
like that game too.
it's a good game. I haven't played
I've
the
never played
second
that one,
one.
actually.
I
Uh,
might stream that. That's sneak
Darksiders
peek
is
forward.
like
Kirby lies. He won't stream.
so the first one you're playing as
War,
War,
right?
one of the
Yeah.
four horsemen of the apocalypse, who was called to Earth too early. It's not the apocalypse yet. But
God damn it, I hate when I get called in early.
Oh, really?
yeah. And because he's there,
Damn it.
it breaks a lot of stuff and like the world starts going to shit like from the get-go. So like I'm not spoiling anything. Um so but like none of the other horsemen appear either. He's like,
Oh,
"Where are
fuck.
they?" So like you'll get into that more. And Darksiders 2 follows that same thing.
He's like, guys, where are you? Um, one-
Anyway, getting
Back
back
to
to
okay,
a,
level
Dark Souls,
design.
of course, it's great.
Dark Souls.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
I think that game is really going to drive home a lot of Kirby's arguments. In that there's level design, and then there's what you think you called it, map design. Is that what you called it?
Yeah, we can call something else, but I think that makes the most sense.
No, that works. It segmented areas, and then they all tie together beautifully. I think it overall it created a of like nostalgia within itself, and go off fight someplace, and you'd warp back to from. You're like, oh, I'm here. Oh my
Yeah.
god, And it was just you felt like you became a master of that domain in the sense that you were like, I've been through every nook and cranny. Some people more than others, Wombat. And then feel like with the path that you're going on, it felt like a journey, so it did feel more like some sort of like adventure, which is like the Souls games are supposed to be like some sort of game, right? Along with punishment game. But I the NPCs, because that's part of level design too, you could argue.
Yeah.
That just the actual level itself was just beautifully created, and from an artistic standpoint, it was like go on further, but artistically speaking, it was beautiful to do because it gave you something to look at. Everything that you saw in the distance was like going to be something that you were going to get to. In that sense, it wasn't just static in the background. It wasn't static noise in the background. It was like, no, that's something obtainable. So it was just probably one of the 10 ever for me.
Yeah, I agree. Being able to like the first time from one of the first bonfires in the Undead Burg, where you go up to the bridge and you kick down the ladder, and then you're at the like arguably one of the first real bonfires. I was like, oh my god, I was freaking out. It was great, and I think that's a game that does both well: level design and map design. I'm trying to think. Obviously, Blight Town is what it is, but I don't think as a design, in terms of design, I think it's done pretty well actually, despite the fact that it's bullcrap. Um,
No, I
and
agree. I agree. I hate Blighttown, but it was well made because you just like the first time you go in there, if you did it right, like where you didn't go grab Master Key, and Wombat still did it right, so I'm not picking on him. But
yeah,
I know there's a possibility that you could go way. But if you go
yep.
down the correct way and you just keep going down and down and down, and you're just like, wow, this is how far am I going to go? This is ridiculous,
Right.
And in that notion, you were like, that added just so much depth
Like, yeah,
in a
how
philosophical
big
type
this world
way.
actually is. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just like, wow, this place is huge, and it was just, and as you kept descending further and just keep dying and dying, it was just so great.
I feel like Dark Souls decided to take a Metroidvania map and make it three-dimensional, and instead of horizontal, it made it vertical because it's more you're going up or down than you are side to
Right.
side. And
Right.
Metroidvania, because like you could really pretty much go anywhere from the get-go, aside from the four sealed areas. Like you could go into the catacombs if you wanted, but you wouldn't have a good time. You could go to Blighttown if you wanted, but you'd again
Right.
not have a great time. You could go to New Londo if you wanted,
Have a really bad
and
time.
have a bad time. I did both of those areas before I was supposed to go to the right area. And like the game had cues for you to tell you that you probably shouldn't be here yet. And
Mhm.
that's part of level design too, is what's in the level, not necessarily just the design itself. Because you could have a really good level, but if there's no cues, if it's not apparent what you're supposed to do, it could be really bad still. And so I think that Dark Souls did a good job of, and at least in that game, making sure like it hinted pretty heavily by the hardness of the area where you're supposed to be. But not only that, but also made it open enough that if you're playing it again, you can try it all kinds of different ways. The replayability was something I think they were thinking of from the beginning. Um,
That's true.
but I really do think it feels like a Metroidvania game in three-dimensional. Like is like that might even be one of the premises. Like, okay, we really like Metroidvania, but we don't want a two-dimensional game. How can we make this 3D? Because Metroidvania uses a lot of the same techniques that Dark Souls did, uh, reusing checkpoints,
Mhm.
uh, areas that connect to themselves in a big looping circle. That's why Nikos called Hollow Knight basically Dark Souls in 2D. Because I don't think it's because Hollow Knight's like Dark Souls. I think it's more that Dark Souls mimicked a lot of Metroidvania stuff.
Mhm.
Now, I don't have a lot of
Okay.
experience with Metroidvania. Hollow Knight's my first technically Metroidvania one if you don't count Dark Souls, but like
Right.
that's what I'm getting from it. Like I
You know,
feel
Yeah, I would agree with you there for the most part. I would say if there is a difference, if there was one defining difference between Metroidvanias and Dark Souls does it, I'm not to say that Dark Souls is inspiration from Metroidvanias, but like you said, Dark Souls kind of tells you where to go based on difficulty. Like you can push through it if you really want to slam your face against the wall, or if you're just really good, go for it and you can go whatever way you want
I see
for the
where you're
most
going with
part.
this.
Yeah, in Metroidvanias, it's mostly locked out, maybe by difficulty too, but more so by if you found a certain item that you need yet, like
But Dark Souls also does
whatever.
that too. Like
No, it
there's
absolutely does.
keyed areas, there's
Yep.
the four Lord Soul areas, things like that.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's doing that. They just still kept it pretty open on
yeah.
the basic map.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's probably something as a key factor right there. If you natural progression of a game should be natural. So you should be able to progress through the game, have to be handheld and just be guided in a way. And I think you kind of drilled it home there, Wombat. Like the difficulty that you would get, and I think just for me at least, when I got to what is it, the first bonfire there, it was just like
Mm.
I felt like I just was kind of pushed up that hill, so I just kind of went that way, the natural way to go. But yeah, I think a level design is one of the concepts, key concepts, is that it should go through there. I mean, there's going to be some like some hack and slashes that are like kind of more on track, so there's no choice, right? And we could probably get into some of the games like that to talk about and whether or not those have good level design or not. But I think in general that we've kind of maybe identified one of the key things right there is that progression should feel natural.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons you're drawn to that area is because it's like, ooh, look, it's a thing. There's a whole bunch of shinies up there and some enemies. Um, and also like, um, there's you see this big expansive world and you're like, I want to go out there. I don't want to stay here because there's a lot of stuff to explore at Firelink. But even I, like somebody who's a big explorer, didn't really explore Firelink. I like immediately tried to leave. Like I immediately
I'm
tried to
fine.
figure out where to go next. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I
Sometimes when you have so much though, like because like there was so much choice presented to you, you just gotta pick a path, and it was
right.
like that looks
So
good. Let's go there.
yeah, and I think what I did was I went down some stairs to see what was down there, and I saw some more stairs, and then there was an elevator. I was like, well, cool. So I explored that path.
Right in the playground.
Yeah. Um, but like when I came back after going through Undead Parish and came down the elevator, I was like, holy crap, there's so much items I missed.
Right.
So then I started exploring Firelink more. But yeah, it's that's a good example, and I could show you a lesser example in the same genre if you'd like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let's talk about Dark Souls 2.
Perfect. I was
Oh
hoping you were
man.
gonna say that.
Um,
So Dark Souls 2. I mean, actually, you go ahead and start one. But you brought it up. I'll say what I have to say if you don't bring it up.
so Dark Souls 2 overall map, there's a lot of jarring aspects to it. Like you look far away, you see something, it's not exactly there or the same when you get there. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Oh
Like
yeah.
like Trell, I'll give you a good
It kind of
example. Going up the going through the windmill and then getting to the other side and you're in a volcano.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Like you went up an elevator and then all of a sudden you're like surrounded by a lake of fire. I'm like,
right.
I don't know how that
They
works.
could have hinted if they had hinted that there was fire or lava coming out of a mountain directly behind the
The
windmill,
Harvest Valley. Yeah.
then that all would have been fine because you would have understood, okay, we went through the windmill, we went through the back and went up an elevator in the mountain to the top, which is what happened. But you can't really tell any of that from what you're doing.
Yeah. So
It just felt like two programmers like designed different things, and all of a sudden they're like, we're just gonna
Right.
slam these together.
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Because
great.
you can see the huge mountain range in the background, but you can't
Yeah.
see any way that the windmill is like really right up against it. So like it just looks jarring. And that, I mean, that's overall overall world design. That doesn't necessarily, that's more aesthetics, like Trell was talking about. So, I mean, but like,
But it
overall,
matters.
it's a lot more linear, and like the areas were pretty well designed, but like
I think they were kind of
they were
boring
a little
compared to the
simple
other two. Yeah,
compared.
they sure simple, yes. Yeah, I didn't feel as excited exploring them as I did in 1 or 3.
Yeah, they were
Like,
they were cool, but they weren't as interesting at points. Like, Earth and Peak was really good. Like, I feel like that
yeah,
was more
yeah,
on
that's what I love.
par,
Harvest Valley, Earth and Peak. Yeah,
um, because there was like a whole bunch of places to go. It was filled with enemies. There was a lot to do in it. Um, but then like think of Harvest Valley where it's a big open area, like Lords of the Skeleton Lords approach. It's a really simple area.
oh, Huntsman's Call. That's what that. Wait, what is?
Huntsman's Cops, it
Yeah,
was good.
that's it. Yeah, yeah.
Harvest Valley
Like,
was a lot more simple.
oh yeah, yeah. Okay,
The
okay.
mining area maybe not, but like there was like good and bad in each area.
The only
I would say.
Ingeria area I particularly enjoyed, like I was like, oh, this is sweet, was the wharf. As much as we meme
Wharf
it
was pretty
for
cool.
the wharf was cool. I really
Um,
enjoyed looking at Charles' face.
I would
Captain
say
Wharf.
that also the Forest of the Fallen Giants was good too,
It was, yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. I did like
because
that
that
one.
that whole keep area was pretty complicated.
I think the wharf, man. I think I agree.
There's
Like
some areas that Trell hasn't gotten to that were like they stepped it up late game,
The DLC was
and the
great.
DLCs were good too.
Yep.
They were on par, but yeah, go
I,
ahead,
Except for
Trell.
one
I
area.
think aesthetically the game is pleasing. I like
Agree.
it aesthetically. Even like when you're in Medusa's lair. I know that's her name. I can't remember her name
Mytha
at
or
the moment.
Mytha. I don't know how you pronounce it. Mytha or Mytha.
Uh, like so you're in there, and then all of a sudden you're all of a sudden just like in the Iron Keep like concept map level or whatever we're calling it. That was like jarring, like you were saying, but aesthetically both pleasing. I thought
Yes.
both of the if we wanted to just like just look into level design there, they were not bad. Agree with Kirby. Maybe majority of the game so far, I feel like there's like there some of the levels just seem short. Like I would have to say is like you sometimes like you're like, oh man, this is actually really good. Like I'm getting the vibe off this area. I like it, and all of a sudden it's like over with, and you're starting to progress into a different area. You're like,
Yeah.
done? What? I feel like it was just short, and
Oh,
like it was just a different direction in my opinion from like how like Metrovania like feel that you got from Dark Souls 1 where you didn't get that in Dark Souls 2 where it just felt like you're like in Majula and then we're gonna spider out is
right.
the dead ends like well go back it was just a completely different feel from the first one. Still, I mean, just it had good parts. Look at them in isolation, but as a whole, probably not as
Yeah.
strong as other games.
Yeah, there's a few areas that I would call short. Hyde's Tower of Flame.
Oh my god, so short.
Oh,
Uh,
why was it so short? It was such a good area
so
yeah,
good.
like I loved the whole concept of it.
But Lost Bastille was perfect
10 minutes
size.
long. Lost of Steel's cool.
In fact, Trell explored a lot more of it and was like, "Oh, this reminds me of Dark Souls 1 so much," because like
Yep.
everything like went back on itself. It was like it's like they tried to emulate Dark Souls 1 really hard in that area. Iron Keep was short. Um,
Too short. Such a good area.
I would say like the areas of Huntsman's Cops. Huntsman's Cops was still kind of short, but like it did it fine. But Harvest Valley was really short. Doors of Pharos was incredibly short.
Incredibly awesome Barrows contraptions.
I mean I like the idea, but like you can skip all of it. Like
Oh yeah,
you could
It's
miss it all.
completely like I don't know why you're able to skip all of it. If it was like as much as I hate it, like when you walked in there, like dang, this is really
Um, I
The
mean,
only way it could have been better was if it was like Doors of Mimics or something, and you're
you
like,
can,
no.
yeah, yeah. Shaded Woods was really short. Um,
Oh, Invisiboys. Yep,
the Invisiboys, and then the area with the lions.
Oh,
the Linemen or whatever.
it's
Yeah.
called Shaded Woods. Yeah, Shaded Woods was also a really good. Like it had good concepts, but it was just, you know, I don't know if you want to say that. I mean, maybe in like again in isolation was great, but just not.
I think overall, like the areas that did the best are area that you haven't been to yet, area that you haven't been to yet, area that you haven't been to yet.
Man, I better get
No
busy.
Man's No Man's
Yeah.
Wharf, Lost Bastille, and then Earthen Peak and the Gutter.
Gutter. The
Okay.
Gutter. Yeah, the Gutter. I really like
Blighttown
going down the black
2.0.
hole. Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Uh,
Blighttown 2.
once you
Wasn't
get
it what the
once you
gutter wasn't that the final stage with all the glowing green stuff?
no, that
That's
was
Black Gulch or
Black
whatever.
Gulch.
The Gutter is the area immediately. Black Gulch is that area. Poison Land.
Black Gulch.
The
Black
area
Gulch
immediately.
actually I thought
Go
Black
ahead.
Gulch was aesthetically pleasing and it had a bunch of new mobs in it, but it
It
was
was
again like just a
incredibly
sprint.
short.
It
Yeah.
was literally a hallway.
Short.
Not literally, but it was seriously like if you just run like 30 seconds.
There's some stuff that's within it still that
That's true.
but it like I won't go into that because Charles hasn't figured that part out.
Whoa! What? I don't want to go back there. No. All right, I
Yeah,
gotta
you
get
do.
busy on Dark Souls 2 apparently. Anyways, we
'Cause
digress.
you're scared of it. You're spooked. Anyway.
Charles, you haven't been to like 6 or more areas yet. Like you haven't done
Yeah.
a
All
lot.
right. I'll just have to wrap it up in the next game. I get in the next stream.
yeah,
I guess.
easy.
Easy.
So yeah, I mean, we're this isn't a Dark Souls stream, so we should
No.
move on to other stuff.
So let me ask this. I said something at the beginning. Do you guys think that level design matters more for some genres of others?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I would say yes.
I think so
Why?
as well. Do you want me to answer that first, or should I let Troll answer?
I'll let Trell answer because you asked the
Okay.
question.
I think that there's a plenty of games that level design does not matter, and okay, and we can argue this because I know Wombat's going to come. But let me go ahead and just throw out what's it called? Rocket League. I mean, the level design you could argue is just the arena, right? And
Yeah.
you could say that is the. And I know this is where Wombat's going to come back in saying like, you know, you're able to, the size you're able to kind of drive up on and etc. But I wouldn't say that that's groundbreaking level design in that it's one of the top tier level designs. It's pretty basic. It's probably a requirement for the game to actually even function.
Let me amend the question that Kirby has then.
Okay.
Or let me amend the answer. I think level design matters for every genre, but I don't think what you're talking about is necessarily like what do you define level design as? Do you
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
because
I guess
it could be level design in actuality is the design of the area that you're playing in, and does it work for the game? Does it improve the game? Does it make the game
okay.
worse? Right?
In that case, I agree. That's where I'm at then. In that,
What
it,
he's thinking of is level design in terms of like, of course it's, of course Rocket League's not going to match up to that because he's thinking about like level design as in terms of a stage rather than
sure.
the game that you're playing in. So that's why genre works for some and not others, because some of them don't have anything to do with stages. You know what I mean?
Okay, well then we can either change the question, or we can limit the genre to only things that have like.
I say we
like,
probably need to clarify, like
Yeah.
with Rocket. Man, we're gonna keep going back to Dark Souls. With Dark Souls, it wasn't necessary to make the world like that to
Agreed.
actually play the game, but it made it so much more enjoyable to do so. Dark Souls 1 could have been like Dark Souls 2. It could have just been, or it could have been like one of like a common hack and slasher with where you just go on a linear path and you just kill things and get souls. it would have worked with the engine of the game. It didn't have to be beautifully created like that. With Rocket League, it has to be created like that in order for it to just work with the engine and the geometric map.
Right. They've
So
actually
I
tried other
kind
geometries
kind
that
of
people
like
don't.
Tetris. Um,
interest.
so
Like you said, Tetris literally wouldn't work with a plus sign or a triangle,
right.
or whatever else you want.
I guess Rocket League also has like things in the stage like bounce pads and other
It has
things.
boost pads. Yeah.
Yeah. But so like they had to take some thought and care into thinking about where things would work best, and they probably tweaked it even. But what you're thinking of is
Sure.
I think I'm getting what you're talking about here. It's mandatory level design, things that have to be in the game to make it work versus things that make the game better or
Better.
memorable.
Sure.
Things that make the game stand out to where it's actually going to be on someone's top 10 best level designs list.
Yeah, yeah, you definitely wouldn't find Rocket League or Tetris on one of those, despite the fact that Wombat, you are correct. They had to put
Yeah,
thought into
right.
it, or else the game would be garbage.
And
Yeah.
let's be honest, there are some games
Yep.
with arena type things that are garbage because of
Oh, absolutely.
that.
Like besides
Uh,
Dark Souls, I would say Left 4 Dead has pretty good level design and map design, and how you go like I don't like movie to movie, kind of like going from one part of the campaign to the next part, and the levels themselves are really damn cool. So if we don't want to go back,
That's fair.
I like Left 4 Dead. Banjo Tooie has great level design in my opinion. I mentioned Okami before. I mean, but the point is, okay, so in games where excluding mandatory level design to where without it your game doesn't function as a game, do some genres matter more than others? Is my question now. Now that we've amended it and gotten a bit of the semantics, I don't know, whatever out of the way.
Oh man. All right, yeah. I feel like this is almost like my philosophy classes back in college. Jeez.
Right? It's like, ooh.
They don't call us the Rogue Scholars for no reason. All right. So I'll say yes in that there's going to be some man. But then I'm trying to like limit it to what genres now, and that's where my difficulty is because it's super important FPSs, important in RTSs.
So before you state your final thought, since you're on the fence, let me submit a game for you. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
That sounds fun.
So, and this will also answer the other dangling disagreement that I had with Kirby a little bit ago.
You're gonna say Overwatch.
I am.
I thought so. Because I was after you said you disagree, I'm like, he's got a good point. Because I was pretty sure I didn't know that was gonna be about Overwatch. Because Overwatch is also a pretty good design.
I'm actually going to talk about two games.
Okay.
Overwatch and they're both multiplayer. Overwatch and then Halo.
Okay.
So we'll start with Overwatch. Overwatch is entirely multiplayer. It's all arena based, kind of like Rocket League, but they could have made it completely simple.
Yeah, it would have sucked.
Like a box with like maybe one or two paths that you can go to. And I've seen designs like that before. I've also seen bad level design in good multiplayer games. So like with Overwatch, they have sometimes pretty complex maps, but they all are designed in a really well and balanced way. And if they feel that something isn't as balanced, they update it with a lore update. So like things have progressed in the map, so it looks different. Or like they've reworked. Like the most recent example would be there's a space station that one of the characters came from. The monkey, his name's Winston, and Hammond is a character that they just introduced that was also on the space station. They're both like super intelligent animals. That Hammond is a super intelligent hamster.
I was gonna ask. I thought it was the hamster in the ball.
It's called Wrecking Ball, and then
Thank you.
Hammond is a super intelligent monkey that can talk. Hammond can't talk. He goes, but when they updated that map, they updated it to reflect Hammond having been on the station and growing things, and like things have been reworked a bit. So it's Like that's how they updated it. They updated it with
That's
a
pretty
new
cool.
character, and then the map got updated too to balance it out. So like recognizing that something's unbalanced and then fixing it is a really cool thing that Overwatch does sometimes, and what should happen in games, but doesn't always. Because once you make something, you want to be done with it. There's
Yeah.
very few games where they're like, this is still a work in progress. Like it's a finished game, but we can make it better and learn from it in that game. Sometimes
Yep.
companies are like, oh, we're gonna learn from that in the next one. Yeah. And then sometimes they forget all about that by the time they finish making it. But
Okay.
so like level design in that is super, super important. Otherwise, the experience is going to be awful when you're trying to defeat a team. Because if it's one-sided, it's going to suck. Like it has to be
Yeah,
balanced. Uh,
that's
and
fair.
and they're also accounting for a whole bunch of different movements of different characters and things like that. So like level design is super important in a multiplayer game like that, uh, but has nothing to do with like a lot of the genres you guys are talking about, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
Halo multiplayer maps when you're fighting is very similar to that. And I used to design maps for people to battle on in Reach and Halo
Hmm.
3. So like I completely know about like level design and how it can make or break a map, or an area, in that way. Like sometimes they choose areas that existed in the actual storyline, and sometimes those worked and sometimes they didn't. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
yeah. So maybe that might give you more to think about. Maybe it won't, but that's my submission for. I don't know if it matters what genre it is because, like, even though that a lot of that might be functional, for the game to actually be good, is the level design for Overwatch because that's the main thing is the level design. I would suggest that, it could have been simpler and been fine still. They made it the way it is to give it like life and like add to their world and things like that too.
That's fair. I think I want to probably go with Wombat now and say that probably it doesn't want to. I don't think it's better the genre. I think it's always important, and I think we've probably already kind of stated that, and so it's good maybe to go back to that and think about it that it's always important in every single game. I guess what I keying in on was that in some genres it allows the ability for it to shine more than in others.
Okay. That's fair.
Um,
Okay.
and in that it becomes more memorable, I guess, because
Right.
like with in Tetris and Rocket League, it's super important still because obviously the game won't work if it hasn't been designed out with intent. But it's not going to be like when you look back, it's going to not going to be like, man, that one Rocket League arena, whoo, boy, it's like it was a well crafted concept
Mhm.
to be kicked around with some some cars. So but it's not going to be the groundbreaking level design that you get from Dark Souls or something like that.
Right. I would
So I
also say that. Sorry, go ahead.
no go no you go.
I'll just say you're right. I agree that maybe level design does matter in pretty much every genre. But now, hold up. I don't think map design does then. Maybe that's how I want to word this. For example, 2D
Hmm.
Mario, level design matters. If the levels suck, it's boring as hell. But no one cares how level 1-1 connects to level 1-2. Doesn't matter at all. I don't think anyone really cares. They just want to play
That
segmented
pipe entrance
levels.
was everything from
Oh,
1-1 to 1-2. It was everything. It had a little cutscene. It was
oh my god.
everything.
Let's put it this way:
Okay.
if you ran off the screen and then you were suddenly underground, it would been a worse experience.
It would have been a worse experience, but not nearly as bad as if I ran through a door in Dark Souls and I ended up in Honor Orlando. Then I would be like, this is garbage. And Mario would be like, all right.
I think you're
I'm not
coming
saying
at this from a biased perspective, Kirby,
in what way? Because I don't.
because Dark Souls has an impressive background. Like Anor Londo, you can't compete with that in any Mario game.
Okay, even the newest like Mario Odyssey game, like if I don't really care. I guess it doesn't work because there's like I guess yeah, it does work. I don't really give a crap how I get from Fossil Falls to I don't remember what's after that. I don't even remember what
But
the
you
second
could
world
see
is.
the next island every time, and you could
But I don't.
always
My
see
point
the
is,
moon.
no,
It
you're right. My point is, I don't care if I could. If I
right.
just
So
ended up there,
you're
I'd be
you're coming
happy.
from a biased point because you don't care. It's
My argument is, I think it would be much more apparent in other, even like Left 4 Dead, how you get from one part of the campaign to the next. I think people would notice more in a game like that than in a more segmented game like Mario or Mega Man or whatever. I mean, obviously, I'm biased. These are all opinions, not facts. And I'm not saying it doesn't matter. You're absolutely right. It would make the game worse if you just walk off the screen and now you're on the ground. My point is, people would be more likely to forgive a game like that for bad map design than a game that's more open world and more focused on exploration and adventure.
okay. So let's rephrase the question a third time then.
Okay, I like it.
Do you care about level design in certain genres more than others?
Yeah, of course.
That's the question. I think that's the
That's
Yeah,
question.
I
well,
think
that's
that's
what I was
the
trying to get at. Yeah.
that's the golden question right there.
So, and which genres matter more? So I think that's what you were getting at. It's just a
Yes,
matter
thank
of
you. We
figuring out
narrowed it
exactly
down.
what that meant. Um,
Like for me personally, it's going to be RPGs because
right,
I want to get
because
more immersed
that's
in the experience of my
right.
character. Yeah.
Because the point of level design is for immersion and like even like things like Tomb Raider, like it's level design oriented in immersing yourself more in an area or in the game, in the storyline. But I think that's mostly because those games have a storyline that's like meant to be immersive. It's meant to be something that draws
Mhm.
you in. Like whereas Mario Odyssey, as you're talking about, like it's got a storyline. It's not meant to be
Sucks.
immersive. It's meant to be fun. You know, it's meant
Right.
to be episodic. So I think that so basically what we're saying is that storyline affects level design or vice versa.
Oh, now I got to think about. Oh man, curveball. Okay.
Yes, I think so. I
I,
think
I
all
mean,
these are become at some certain point dependencies on each other as they become more interwoven.
Sure.
So, man,
It makes
like,
you see, like, here's the big thing that always blows my mind is that games are never made by like one person who like has a
right.
hand at everything. There's different departments, right?
Yeah.
So like, how do you get a game to be that closely knit?
That's what the director has to do, right? Is that I
I
always thought that's
guess.
their
Like
job is to kind of make sure that things mesh together right, and that's an incredibly intimidating job to me,
that sounds so
yeah,
crazy. Like, 'cause
right?
I'm like, it's like
monumental task.
I'm designing a level and
Yep.
I have no idea what the story is. It's like, okay, make the city, okay? Like I have to know something, right?
Right.
It's like when you're preparing for a role or setting up a scene for like there's got to be like a script. So,
That happens all the time. Like from a as a programmer, like
Right.
if I don't know the full intent of what's going to happen, so sometimes I need to. I sometimes will get into rooms with a bunch of business folk asking them questions because I want to know what the future intent of the application is be because that goes into my design of the application because there's been times in youth when I started off as a software engineer I just jump into code and start building and all of a sudden like they were all like happy and like this application works great, it's fast, it's good, and all of a sudden they were like, okay, now we want it to do this. There's this new feature to it, and all of a sudden it'd be like, I I have to rewrite it in order for it to do this. Like I designed it to be this way, and I thought that you would be able to grow doing this things, but now you're saying you want it to grow and be able to do these. Like if without knowing certain things to begin with, design. So I would say probably the same way with for those teams. And I'm not sure how like some games like Dark Souls 1 was created. I would almost want to say that it was probably teams for different areas out. like whoever built the area with the ceaseless discharge. What's the name of the area? I can't remember.
Wait, what area?
Bottom after with ceaseless discharge.
The
Oh, Los Angeles
it's
or
above
Demon
Lost
Ruins
The
Ruins
Demon
actually.
Ruins. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoever designed Lost Izalith and Demon Ruins, I feel like was a different team than who designed like
Oh
the
no,
got in
the Tomb of
there.
Giants. Yeah.
But I mean, like, in it's just so having all the requirements up front helps you with the design. So yeah, director position would be very important, monumental task to communicate that and get your
Agreed.
vision out there.
Same thing with like Ocarina of Time. I was thinking about just talking about different games. Obviously, Zelda and Dark Souls are games. Apparently, that's all about.
Oh, we
But
talk about.
yeah, but like designing, I really love everything about that game. You know how everything connects. Majora's Mask too. That's my actual favorite. But the point is, Zoro's Domain, designing that and how it connects to the story. Yeah, I don't. Being a director would be, for me, something I couldn't do. But yeah, I just don't see how you make sure everyone is at least you're on the same page as everyone else, even if they're not. And obviously there are games where when it's done right, it really shows, and there are games where it's not done so great. So
Right. And like you really have to have pretty much the whole game known before you start a task like that.
right.
But most companies don't. They start out with an idea, they start designing some things. There's even like okay, so here's how they do Zelda.
Mhm.
Zelda, they come up with ideas and design the game around those ideas and then figure out the story from there. And that blows my mind.
Oh, really? They do the story last then?
The story is
That's
always last.
so they know this is the world we want and this is how we want it to look. And then now they think, how can we make up some reasoning for the player to get from point A to the end of the or start to
Right.
finish, right?
That
Interesting.
actually doesn't surprise me too much.
Hmm.
I think that you sometimes games you have memorable moments, and then the game with some of the mechanics that you can play off of with the engine that you build, and you can make really enjoyable. Then what can make those even better is then you add on like them to make them like just phenomenal. And I think that happens a lot with music artists, is that they will actually here they do the music first and then they add the lyrics next.
Hmm.
I remember Linkin Park actually talked about that with their latest album. Is that they actually did the reverse, and they wrote the lyrics first, music to it, just because they wanted to do it differently for once. But for the most part, it was like you got the music. All right, now what lyrics can fit in this kind of thing. And sometimes it's
Right.
weird because some of the best songs that we know, we're kind of like, man, how did they write those beautiful lyrics and that song, the music to it at the time? But it's just like there, it was almost like, okay, we got this great piece, and now let's just put the craft a puzzle piece to slam in there. That's the way it feels like almost. But
I think that also tends to you lean to your strength too. Like if you're a musician first and a writer second, you'll make the music first and vice versa. Like
sure, yeah, yeah.
every song that I've ever written was the opposite way. It's always been uh, words first and then music after. So not that I've written very many, but um, yeah. So I think sometimes that might be where the strength is, and that they go with that first. And I don't know if that's the case with Zelda or not, but I always found that really interesting because um, like they don't want to be bogged down by like what they've made in the past. They want to create something new, and then they figure out how that can connect afterward, which is probably why Breath of the Wild isn't apparent as a connection to any one timeline or whatnot, is because they weren't thinking about that when they built it. They just made a game. You know what I mean? And they don't
Hmm.
want to
Right.
be affected by other things that they've made because then they're locking themselves in, and they don't want to do that.
And
Which
that's probably important
I can
too,
respect.
because respect that. I think it's important because sometimes, if you are always trying to play up to your predecessor, it sometimes will limit you,
Backfire.
and you'll feel the pressure. But sometimes if you
Yeah.
just escape the pressure like that, and you just create something wonderful. So I was wanting to real quick, maybe just to kind of open our options,
Hmm.
just games here. This is game FAQ's top 10 level design list.
Okay.
A little bit of fresh air. They have as number 10 Metroid Prime.
Okay.
Uh,
I'm actually playing through Metroid Prime right now with a friend, and I will say that the level design is it's good, but I think it's very, very, very tedious at times when you don't have the right equipment and it takes like half an hour sometimes just to get from where you are to where you need to be because the level design they made it they make you traverse level exactly how they want you to, and it doesn't
Interesting.
work as well in the early game, in my opinion. The late game's fine because you have all the traversal options you need, like grappling hooks and double jumps. But in the beginning, it's incredibly tedious.
Well, it can be, but like you're not supposed to be going back and forth to cross the area for the most part. You go along a trajectory until you get an item that'll make things shorter, and then you can get back to where you were easy. So if
No,
you're doing
that's
it like
true,
that,
but
then
I
you
don't
might
always know
be
where I need to go. But
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you do it perfectly, then yes. But I still think the levels design is good. It's just early game tedious is my only complaint there. But I agree with otherwise.
I mean, like
Okay.
that's a lot of games with like that you can't go here yet. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. I get it.
Personally,
I've
I'd put
actually
Metroid
never
Prime 2 at the number 10. But
Hmm.
I've never played any Metroid game,
right.
so
You played
I
two,
don't
but
have any
not
opinion.
one.
No, I've played both, but I
I
think
see.
2 handles the level design itself is worse, but the traversing is better. It's less tedious. That's personal preference. But anyway,
I
yeah, I
can't wait
agree.
for 3.
Wait, 3 is out. Do you
I
mean
can't
4?
wait for
For 4?
4. I don't think I've played 3 actually.
3 is my least favorite in terms of gameplay, but
Hmm.
anyway, 4 is going to be fun. Anyway, Trell, what are your opinion? Oh, you never played Metroid Prime.
Yeah, I've never done it. It's on the bucket list, the ever growing bucket list. So no,
Okay.
number 9 is Team Fortress 2.
There we go.
Oh,
Multiplayer
so that
arena.
goes against my or that goes along with my thing. I
Yeah,
didn't play a lot of Team Fortress, but I know that Overwatch was influenced by it. So
right. I agree with it
Okay.
for the reasons that Wombat brought up for Overwatch.
I agree. I didn't play a lot of TF2, but I did play some,
I played a
and
shit
I
ton
haven't
of it.
played a lot of Overwatch, but I have played some, and I would agree that the map designs in there and both were fantastic. I played a lot more of Call of Duty and Halo
Mhm.
in my FPS competitive days, but
right.
uh, like you could always see which maps were the favorite in any one that in any time that
Blood
you were in a
Gulch.
matchmaking. Blood Gulch was, oh my god, the best. And then I can't remember the name of it, but the little Nuketown. No, it wasn't called Nuketown in Call of Duty.
Yeah,
I think it
there's
was called
Nuketown.
Nuketown. Yeah,
Yep.
it was
With the
definitely the
houses, like the
favorites.
old 1960s or whatever it was, houses. Yeah,
It was
it's
so
Nuketown.
good, so good. Let me go to the next game here.
Number
Uh,
8.
Number 8 is and this one I could argue against this one, but this one's GTA 5 or sorry, GTA 4.
Nah, I mean well, okay, so this goes against or at least I have been classifying it as 2 things: level design and map design. Games that are so open world like this, like
That's a map
GTA.
design.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was okay. It's just a city. I thought it was okay. I definitely don't think it deserves top 10, but I don't think it's bad. I'll leave it at that.
I always thought GTA games were great in the sense that they created this like world
Immense
inside there.
world. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty immense. There's a lot going on. There's these little shops. You have the
Yep.
the ammunitions, and then you have
Mhm.
like the areas where you can pick up the prostitutes, and then you have all these
Trails
little
those
great.
memorized. He has those memorized. He's like, oh yeah, I gotta
You get the areas where you can go park with the prostitutes, and then no,
go.
but it was just I don't see how I don't understand why that's even on their list. I would have to read through they
Yeah.
got go through of why they say this, and
Mhm.
they for every game that they mention on this list, they have a close but no cigar section, and I'll read what their close but no cigar section was. It was actually Assassin's Creed, and
I think that's better than Grand Theft
I would
Auto.
argue Assassin's Creed, actually, the first one was as amazing as that game was. I love that game. It was intense and it was dramatic in all the right spots. And I just don't think that it had good level design,
Mhm.
but I also think the level design was repetitive
Okay, yeah.
overall. So in that sense, I think it hurt itself with the level design that they found a good recipe and then they rinse and repeat. But that's my 2 cents.
Okay.
Hmm.
The next one, and I would also argue against this one, is Forever says BioShock.
Really? I'm surprised you argued against that, first of all. Um,
I'll get to it. I'll let you speak.
Well, if you have anything to say, go first. I'm going to think real quick, and I'll say like 10,
So
15 seconds if
I
you
think
don't.
we started laying some ground rules, and I think these ground rules are ever growing, because I think this is a hard concept to just
Yeah,
knock
that's
out.
how it
And
goes. We try to set ground rules at the beginning, Ben. By the end, they're refined. We refine them.
we're refining. And to be honest, we could almost do several episodes on level design, because it's a hard
Yeah.
thing to just knock out in a couple hours. But
Yeah, it could be one for each genre, even. But anyway, yeah, okay.
I would, yeah, that's true.
Okay, so BioShock.
I would say
sorry,
that
go ahead.
I would say BioShock is great aesthetically. I would say the level design is superb in its aesthetics. Is that you go into a room and it looks like there's like a little bit of a story to each room, and that you go in there and you'd be like, this dude got killed, and then you look at and you'd be like, this table was flipped over, and then there's a big blast stain on the wall, so you could almost be like, something happened to this guy, in creating in every single room, where you go in there and you're like, there's this pile of teddy bears on here or whatever, just like there's like a little bit of a mini story if you really looked into it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that's aesthetics. I don't think that's level design, and I think every single room you walked into felt, it like, for me, I like trying to get through the game. It felt like every room was the same.
What about when you
Was
get to like the greenhouse with like the poison gas flowers or whatever? It's been a while since I played, so forgive me. But if you know what I'm talking about, you have to like
I believe I know what you're talking about.
like
I just don't think it was that strong. I felt like you were
okay.
every single time you were in some you were in some room and you had some dudes to fight.
Okay,
And that was it in a nutshell. And it was
That's
like,
fair.
it didn't feel like that. I'm not going to remember that
All
game
right,
for its levels.
what's the difference? What's the difference between that and say Ocarina of Time? You go into a room, there's dudes to fight. You go into another room, there's dudes to fight. Like,
Arguably, I don't think that Ocarina of Time is that great level design.
I disagree, but
Ooh.
I would like you go ahead and state your points.
well, first of all, going back to BioShock, I see what you're saying, that everything feels similar, but that's because there was an overarching theme of that underwater city. Like, it's not like you can leave the underwater city in the level. Like, so they tried to vary it as much as they could in that way. And some of that was with story, and some of that was with aesthetics. But like, an area looks the same as another area, isn't that aesthetics? Is that level design or is that aesthetics?
Hold on, I'm not sure if I get what you're saying.
So if I go into an area and it looks the same as the last area I was in, right? Like, oh, this feels the same. It looks the same,
Right.
but looks are aesthetics. Design is the paths that you choose, the areas that you go to, like how they're designed to incorporate you playing through the game, right?
Right. So, and I want to get to Ocarina with you, because I do want to amend my answer. I do like the level design in Ocarina,
He's backing off
but
because he saw my look.
there's some caveats. So we'll
Okay.
get to that.
See,
With
I wouldn't defend it, so you'll have to rip it apart, and I'll try and sew it back together.
with BioShock, I just don't.
Sorry.
With BioShock, I thought aesthetically, like, that you're underwater. Like, you go into a room, and you see like a little crack in the glass, and you see it leaking in. You're like, oh my god, this could just cave in at any point. And it was great that they created this world that you're just engulfed in, and you really do feel like you're in there. But I just don't like, and maybe this is where it becomes like, it just didn't. It felt repetitive throughout the whole game. In that,
I could see where it felt repetitive, yeah.
yeah, I'm trying to put words to my thoughts here. I didn't. It didn't feel groundbreaking in any kind of level designy type way. It just felt more like
Sure.
You either
The
go up some stairs,
what
you
was
go through an
groundbreaking
elevator,
was the
you're in another
story
room,
and
fighting
like
some
the
dudes.
aesthetics. The aesthetics and the story is what really carried that game. Is what you're saying.
Yes.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
think
so
that's a good way to put
if
it.
it was reskinned to be something more like on land, and just I guess I'd agree there. If it was reskinned, I wouldn't like it nearly as much.
I think they improved and maybe even noticed that it felt samey when they went to BioShock Infinite.
Yeah, when they took it
I'd
above
say BioShock
ground.
Infinite's level design was a lot better.
Okay. And I've heard a lot of people complaining that with because I haven't played Infinite, so I can't speak to that. But with 2, a lot of people said it felt just like an exact copy of 1, but
Like
different
a
storyline.
DLC, yeah.
Yep. So, I think people started to feel more of the repetitiveness in 2 just because it wasn't different enough. It was like we've done
And
this before. We'll move a little
yeah,
bit of the items around in these different rooms, different concepts, but it's basically the same game.
and 2's story wasn't different enough that people started noticing it because the story wasn't as good. The twist wasn't as good, stuff
Right,
like that.
right.
So
So I mean, like
yeah,
BioShock is an amazing game, but I just don't see how that makes it to a top 10 list. I guess if we're truly trying to keep aesthetics out of it, and maybe this is a good aesthetics back on the table. I don't know, but
all right. So why don't you finish your list and then you'll go ahead and rip apart. We'll
Let's
do
go.
a rapid fire real
We're
quick.
low on time, right? So we're the
Right.
top 3. We're
Yeah.
the top 3 on this list.
okay. Well, I'll run through. So 6 was San
Okay.
Francisco Rush
Never
2049.
played it. No, I have no idea what that game
Never
is.
played it. Why don't you link this so the viewers can see it too?
Yeah, good call. Good call.
Um,
Okay.
So and then 5 was God of War 3.
Never played it.
4
okay.
4 was Twilight Princess.
Yes, I
Okay.
like it a lot.
3 was Super Mario Galaxy 2.
Yup, sure.
Was Deus Ex,
The original, never played it.
Never played it, but
and
I've heard good
1
things.
was Half-Life 2.
Okay.
Yeah. I will say though, I think Ocarina of Time deserves Twilight Princess's spot, but they're both good. They're both good.
The only thing that made Twilight Princess was its dungeons. Like the rest of it was like
Yeah, the bosses were
the
bad, but
map
the dungeons were
design was
great.
not great.
That was okay.
It
The
was
dungeons were fun
way
though.
too sparse. The dungeons were the funnest part.
Yep. All right, so Trell, why don't you like Ocarina of Time? Why is that your least favorite? Why is that your least favorite game you've ever played? That's
Why do I absolutely hate Ocarina? No, so I love Ocarina of Time. It's definitely one of my most favorite games, and I do think it had good level design. I thought there was also some
Trell
bad
can't post
level.
links because he's trash.
Oh, I can't. Yeah, I also think it had bad level design as well. I feel like there were
All right,
certain
try again.
areas. Oh, let me go for that. I feel like there's certain dungeons perhaps that. Trying to think of an example. Maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe it actually was all good. It maybe okay. And see this it wasn't the level designs. It was more of some of the mechanics I didn't like when I look back at it. In that notion, and so maybe this is going off of the level design concept. I guess what I was wanting to argue the most was the fighting in that there was a lot of weight between moves and a lot of repetitiveness between the
Yeah, that
the
doesn't have
mobs that you
anything to
fight.
do. Yeah, that's
Yep. But the part that makes me want to bring that in is that sometimes you fight and we brought this into Dark Souls 1 was like how the difficulty that you met with the enemies keyed into level design, and that's where I was starting to go with Ocarina. But if we're gonna just try to keep that out of it, and this is where it becomes such blurred lines between everything. But
yeah, because Zelda doesn't use enemies in that way. They just use them as challenges.
right. So that's why I wanted to go back. I want to amend my answer and say that Ocarina is the best game 2020 ever.
All right, 2018. Ocarina of Time for 2020.
Please.
Yep.
I would be happy with that president. 20 of time, just there.
No, hold on. Let me. I gotta close Twitch and reopen it to post that link.
Oh,
No,
it's
already
posted
You're good.
by
Oh,
both
did
of us
post? Okay.
now.
You both posted.
Okay. Cool. So I don't know if you guys ever played Rush. I think that was the number 6 on there. That Rush was always a pretty good.
It's a racing game, right?
It is a racing game. It was a game that had like massive jumps, huge loop the loops, and it was always a pleasure to play that game. I never played 2049. I think that was like the San Francisco one that's mentioned in that link I sent. But I played some of the other Rush games, and they were always pretty good to play. As an early like 64 game, I thought they were fantastic, and it kind of opened your eyes to what racing games could be. I think you get a lot of those kind of flips and mechanics in certain games nowadays, like Rocket League, like we talked about. Obviously, it's more arena based than a huge track level, but and then I've never played Super Mario Galaxy 2, but I want to talk about that one as well. Super Mario Galaxy 1, I thought was fantastic. I thought
Loved
that
it. I forgot you put that on stream. I was there for that.
Yeah. That was a beautifully crafted game in its puzzles. And puzzles, I know, could be a whole genre of level design that we could get into, like Limbo. Oh my god, was so good.
I can't wait to play that.
Yeah, dude, you have to get into it.
There's
I
one
want
part
to
I'm
watch
waiting
that.
for because Trill's bad. So
Yes, my love.
all right,
Yes.
we're
Almost done.
Trill, you gotta play Mario Galaxy 2 if you get the chance. That's all I have to say there. I liked it more than the first one even.
Okay. Yeah. I think aesthetics also were a huge thing within Mario Galaxy, but I know we're trying to keep that a little bit separate. But
yeah. So
right.
closing notes from everyone then. So I'm just trying to make sure people can get where they need to be on time.
I know Wombat. We picked a bad day. We're gonna have to do a more. I think we're gonna have to do several sessions on level design, to be honest.
I guess I would,
because this one was almost like we're like our art, like as an artist, we were, it was like our first swipe at it. We just like got all of our materials laid out, and we're still trying to figure out how to paint this picture.
I think it'd be really cool to talk about what features of level designs or in shooters and maybe in horrors and adventure games, stuff like that. But I agree if we can come back to this anyway. Shoot, I don't know where I was going. I had something to say, and then I just got completely derailed. Take over, someone, please. The silence.
So I think what I've come out from this is like I never even really thought about like racing games as like level design and like whatnot. Like you could talk about like Mario Kart, things like that. Like everybody hates Bowser City. Why? You know,
Bro,
like
why do you hate it?
or Rainbow Road, why it's so infamous. You know, things like that. So like you can or like why people like certain temples in the Zelda game or not other temples or you know
Right.
whatnot.
Water
So
temple.
like yeah, exactly. So like we could even talk about the best examples of or like the most known levels and why their designs are most memorable.
Yeah.
That would be a good
See,
topic.
I agree with
definitely
that.
gonna have to come back to this topic.
There's just so much here.
So like we can talk about things if we talk about most memorable, we can talk about bad and good in that way. Because there's some that qualify for both categories, some at the same time maybe. Yeah. So my closing thoughts is maybe like I had a pretty good thought about level design. Oh, we can also talk about like level design in terms of how we would design something. You know.
Oh man, that's good.
So
I could try. I'll try my best. It's not
Kirby
my
would just
skill
make
set.
a gauntlet full of bosses. Done.
It's just a room. There's a boss, right? When you beat that boss, new boss. It's just boss rush the game. That's it. That's pretty much what Fury was actually.
Kirby will make that game, and then he'll give it to me, and then I'll give it to Trell. So what I'll add is cutscenes, and Trell will add.
No, don't do it to my game.
Oh man.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
So what about you? What did you guys come away from this with?
Honestly, I give more respect to multiplayer games than usually. I guess I knew that they were important, but I wasn't thinking about level design in terms of a balanced perspective, which is why I originally didn't say multiplayer games were so important, were were less so important because single player you don't really about you worry about balance in terms of making sure the enemies don't stomp you or get stomped, but on a more even playing field for players. So I didn't consider that in terms of level design. So I guess that would be my main takeaway from this, and what I consider level design and world design. So, Shrell.
I think my takeaway is maybe like a couple things. I already knew it, but it maybe just
Knew it.
made it more apparent to myself. Was like how important level design is. Um, Again, maybe not be so quick to judge on some games just because there's so many different aspects that go into to like even like we were judging things like Tetris and stuff like that. It's like, oh, that's simple answer, no, terrible level design, but it was like, hold on, the game wouldn't even function with that. So I do like these segments because we really do dissect things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's can't be so quick to judge, but yeah, I guess that would probably be more along the same lines of everything else I've taken away from that. But I definitely want to continue maybe several sessions of this because I feel like we have a lot more to say. It's just so
Yeah.
it's hard to it's hard to actually put words to it, and it's hard to keep it organized
Yeah, 'cause
into a
everything kind of
good
touches level
stream of thought.
design. Yeah. And some games it affects it in certain ways it
Yeah,
doesn't, like it depends. So yeah, it's a hard topic. Fun topic though.
definitely.
Well, guys, thanks for coming in, and sorry
Yep.
that for the earlier time today. I hope you guys catch the VOD if you didn't catch it in real life. Um, we normally do our streams at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We started way early today at it's what 7:30 ish.
7:30. Yeah.
Yeah,
Somewhere
we
in
had a
that range.
couple technical difficulties. So just expect us Sunday mornings at some point here on the channel. Gail, yeah, you could catch it today.
Yo.
Um, and if you guys have any aesthetic games, level designed games that you think we should talk about in the next session of this, let us know. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Uh, Probably either talking about this or some other topic here on the channel. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you uh, liked what you saw, leave us a follow. And I have the addresses of the other two guys here in chat for you guys to follow them too.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
See you later.
Fun.
Bye.